Hello and welcome to my guitar channel. My name is Christian Moser, and today we're talking about one of the most legendary blues guitarists of all time, Stevie Ray Vaughan. And his inimitable way of playing the blues shuffle is so legendary that this style of blues shuffle even bears his initials and is well known among guitarists. And today I'm going to introduce you to this way of playing. Stevie Ray Vaughan was born on October 3rd, 1954 in Dallas, Texas. He died quite tragically on August 27th, 1990 in a helicopter crash after a concert. It was a festival where Eric Clapton also performed. Eric Clapton wasn't in the helicopter because he was still playing an encore. The helicopter crashed shortly after takeoff due to poor weather conditions, and all those on board were killed instantly. Alright, then let's get down to business. I'm going to divide the whole thing into two sections. Section 1 is what exactly is a shuffle. I'll introduce it to you very gradually and explain it in a way that's easy to understand, especially for those who don't have any prior experience with it. Section 2 will be about how Stevie Ray Vaughan achieved that sound, what technique he used to create that extremely groovy shuffle. Advanced guitarists who are already familiar with triplets and shuffles and can play them are welcome to skip the upcoming section and jump in at the next one. Because first I'm really going to explain the basics here for people who have never played a shuffle before. We're going to do this in 4 steps. I'll go over quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, and shuffle triplets. And I'll show you step by step how you can build all of this on top of each other. Let's start with simple quarter notes first. I'll display the quarter notes for you here. And now let's imagine a fictional number, namely 100 small subdivisions between the first quarter note and the second quarter note. You'll see why I'm doing this in the next steps. Now let's play the quarter notes first, so you know what quarter notes sound like. Okay, those were the quarter notes. Now we'll double the note value and move on to eighth notes. An eighth note has a stem and a flag. If you play eighth notes in succession, you can connect the flags. The simple reason for this is that it's easier for the eye to read when a sequence of eighth notes appears on the sheet music. Okay, and now it's shown again. You're basically dividing this value. So now, instead of showing 100 subdivisions, there's another hit exactly in the middle at 50. As a result, it feels twice as fast. Okay, let's quickly try that as a track. So now comes the crucial step. Now we'll divide the area between 1 and 2 into 3 equal parts. I'll show that here again. Then, of course, you have 33.3 repeating, so a triplet division of the quarter note value. Listen to that as well. So now we're at step 4, the actual shuffle. I'll show that again as well. Now you can see that the second triplet is left out. This creates a distance from the first note to the second of 66.6 and from the second to the next quarter note of 33.3. That's what creates this swing feeling. It's not an even grid of 50 like when you play straight eighth notes, for example, but it has a certain swing factor, and that's what we perceive as shuffle. Listen to that in the track as well. A quick word about counting methods. The 1, 2, 3, 4 of the quarter notes are usually always counted like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. For eighth notes, you count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and when writing it down, you use a plus sign for the and if you need to notate it. There are different ways to count triplets. For example, you'll find the term triplets used for triplets, or one allay, two allay. That always felt a bit too Christmassy to me. I don't know, I just don't like it. I usually recommend to my students to count 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the... As I said, there are lots of different methods. Just use the one you like best. When it comes to shuffle, I also count it using ands. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Just that, of course, I count it in a shuffled way. Alright, now let's look at the playing technique in detail. Maybe just one thing beforehand. Stevie Ray Vaughan had huge hands. I don't want to start a fundamental discussion about big and small hands, but I'll show you a picture of his hands here. I don't have small hands myself, but he really had hands like frying pans. He played with 13-gauge strings and a high action. So if you know what 13-gauge strings mean, they were tuned down a half step for him, but the man really had to dig in. With such power, and I think that's also a big factor in his sound because he only had a slightly overdriven tone and got so much out of his hands, his dynamics, his strength, and that's how he created that huge punch he was known for. The debate about thick and thin strings, whether it matters or not, I know that's 100 years old, but if you compare the note C on the B string with the same note on the D string, then everyone can hear that the note on the D string just has a lot more bass content. And in my opinion, that's how it is with all the strings. If you have a larger cross-section, more mass vibrates, more steel, more string, then the sound is also fatter. So let's approach this step by step. We'll start first with the percussive element. That means you mute all 6 strings with your left hand and now play with your right hand. And don't be timid with your strumming dynamics. Shuffle it. So I've made a little backing track for you for this. Alright, exercise 2. Now we'll add a note. You do this by still keeping that flat hand position like before to mute the strings. But now my ring finger is over the 7th fret and the D string. That means with a slight pressure I can now, without changing my hand position, produce a note whenever I want. You shuffle again and play a note on the accented beat. Shuffle. And then press briefly hold. Okay, let's do the whole thing again with a track. Okay, as you just heard at the end, I added a second note, the 5th fret on the D string. That means now we have the alternation between the 7th fret on the D string, the note A. And on the 5th fret, it's still very important that you keep your hand position flat and basically switch between the muted notes, briefly producing the note with a light pressure. Okay, let's add the track again. Maybe you already noticed while I was playing that I like to trace a kind of circle with my right hand when I play the shuffle. It somehow helps me. You can try it out too. I think it makes the shuffle feel a bit more natural. Okay, the next example is now the actual main riff of the shuffle blues that I developed basically from the intro solo. I'll also show you the basic structure. You can find the complete tabs linked below the video as a download. With excellent backing tracks and everything precisely notated in Guitar Pro and PDF, let me show it to you very slowly. After each downstroke, I always play the open A string in between, so let's do it really slowly. Now the whole thing with the addition of the dead notes. And that gives the whole thing even more drive, because the root note A always comes in between. Here it is again with the backing track. As I mentioned earlier, the complete blues pattern I just played can be found linked below the video, available for download as a PDF in Guitar Pro format and with full audio. It's best to download it so you can practice most effectively, and it also sounds decent. So that was my deep tribute to Stevie Ray Vaughan, one of the greatest blues musicians of all time, extremely expressive in my opinion. Check out his records. Lenny is also a masterpiece, I can only recommend it. Here's the concise summary once again. Your right hand plays dead notes, shuffled. That gives your playing this percussive element. The left hand lies very flat and mutes everything except the notes you want to play. Whether it's a lick or rhythm guitar, the thumb is best placed over the neck, muting the low E string. That way you can play across all the strings. It has more punch than if you just play in a small area. Play your dead notes with a bit of emphasis so that you accentuate the strong beats 1, 2, 3, and 4 a little more, meaning you play them a bit louder. That way the listener can better hear where the timing is. Otherwise, that was just a regular blues progression with the chords A, D, and E, 12-bar form. But you can read all of that exactly in the tabs. So my dear friends, that was my workshop once again. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned a bit about blues shuffling, how it works technically, and gained a better understanding of it. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a like if you subscribe to the channel or hit the bell. All wonderful ways to give a little recognition back for the work. That would also be a huge motivation to keep preparing these workshops for you. Alright, then I'd say go for it. Practice the material, shuffle, and we'll see each other next week. See you then. Bye.